Today's episode is a can't miss episode. We are going to talk about building a relationship with your clients before you get into the goals, before you get into improving communication skills. I want you to be all in on building a relationship. I'm going to give you 5 very powerful strategies that I want you to focus on, not with some of your clients, but with all of your clients. Now, this is going to be most important with the clients with the sensitive temperament. Yes, this is going to be most powerful with the children who show situational mutism, where they're not talking at school, for instance. Yes, but this is going to be beneficial for every single kiddo you work with. So if you want things to go easily, if you want the momentum to be there, if you want to be not spending your energy on trying to woo the children into your activities, what I want you to do is to do something different. In this next year, 2025, I want you to make a pledge to start with all of your clients using this responsive approach that I'm going to share with you today. I'm so excited for this. And you might have to use this approach for even a month of therapy to start off with. It's going to pay off exponentially. The more you pour in early on to relationship building, the easier the speech, the language, the augmentative communication goals, the easier that's going to be. So I'm going to share with you 5 empirically based strategies that work for diverse groups of children. Step 1 is to find out what are the child's interests. Now, I have a wonderful parent input form for that, and I encourage you to go to kellyvest.com/parent input form. That's one word. It's kellyvest.com/parent input form. Type that in, and there I'm going to share with you my favorite parent input form. So this is the form that you have parents fill out before you even meet the child. And on that form, you are going to find out what are the child's favorite toys? What are the child's favorite songs? What are the child's favorite TV shows? What are their child's favorite places, their favorite activities? You're going to know all of that before you meet the child. And that means you can make a great first impression. When you first meet that child, you're going to show up with your flowers. You're going to show up carrying what that child loves. If the child likes dinosaurs, you're going to show up with that child. You're going to be like, hey, let's go to the dinosaur party. And you're going to have that huge bin of dinosaurs in your hands. If the child likes vehicles, you're going to have that huge bin of cars in your hands. You get it. You're going to show up with your flowers. You're going to put your best foot forward. You're going to win that child in early on. And those are the activities you are going to be doing in therapy for the first week, for the first weeks, maybe for the first month to build a relationship. Now, the reason this is such an important episode is because what I'm finding is that there is an increase in the preschoolers I work with in anxiety. So I'm working with more and more preschoolers that have situational mutism. There's so many preschools every year that I work with who are not talking at preschool. They're not talking to teachers at preschoolers. They're not talking to peers with preschool at preschool. They're not talking to anyone at preschool. They're having this situational anxiety, and I'm seeing more of it post COVID. So I'm not alone in this. I know that there was a recent article written in The Guardian talking about people in Australia that are seeing this as well. So you might be seeing this as well. In the past, I've had maybe a child every year or two or few years that had situational anxiety. But now every year I have 2 or 3 on my caseload who are not talking at school. So this is a more severe case of anxiety, right? I'm seeing more children with sensitive temperaments that need that extra time in which you're developing a relationship, which you're building positive rapport and momentum and trust so that they feel safe and secure, and that Maslow's triangle, those first 2 levels, are taken care of before we get into the heady speech, language, literacy, augmentative communication, whatever we're working on, the higher level thinking goals. We need to make sure that our basic needs are met. This is why this episode is more than just for those children who are situationally mute. It's for all children across the board. We're seeing that children are really feeling a lot more anxious, and be it because of sensory issues, that could be part of it, be it because of a lack of time with nature, a lack of playtime, increased screen time, increased exposure to toxicity and chemicals. There's something in the water, there's something in the air, and there's something going on. And I'm seeing a lot more anxiety in preschoolers. As a result, as speech therapists, we have to do something different and not have the approach that from day one, we're going to lace up the shoes and run. Instead, we have to think day one is about building this safe and secure relationship with the child in which there is that foundation from which we can run and take off from later on. Now, I've made the mistake in the past where I haven't invested enough time in building relationships before I faded in the speech and language demands. I want you to learn from my mistake what happens. If I don't do that, it is like I have to expend so much more enthusiasm, so much more energy with this child afterwards for the child to buy into therapy. Every session, I have to pull out all the stops, and the child kind of reluctantly participates. I have to expend so much more energy because this child with a sensitive temperament, every session, they have to warm up to me before they're like full force. If I would have just in the beginning taken a few sessions and done what I'm going to share with you today, it would have been gravy for the next 2 years. But instead of it being gravy the next 2 years, I have to put on my pom poms and my cheerleading outfit and be like, let's go. We're going to have a blast today. We're doing your favorite blah. And I had to expend so much more energy it's for buy-in because I didn't upfront take the time to build a solid relationship. Okay. I want you to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to be fully transparent about mistakes I've made in the past and mistakes that I'm not going to make in the future because I know better now. And that's what I'm sharing with you today, these 5 strategies. So the first strategy, like I said, is know what the child loves. And that's going to be in the parent input form. Make sure to download that. It's free. It's kellivest.com/parent input form. So the second strategy that you're going to want to do when meeting the child, and maybe for the first session or the first sessions, before we're going to give any directions, before we're going to ask any questions, before we're going to start the therapy and having them practice their speech sounds, before any of that, this is what we're going to do. Strategy number 2, mirror the child. So we're mirroring the child. It's not only doing what the child is doing in close proximity, but it's also mirroring their speech. They say something, you say it back immediately after them. Okay. So when you say it back, you can change the intonation. You say it back at, oh, like that's a surprise. You can change the enthusiasm. You're just going to mirror it back. So that's the first strategy. It's very powerful. So we know that this is a powerful strategy in working with children with autism, but any child, you're acknowledging them when their behaviors and when their speech is mirrored back to them. That's going to be really reinforcing, very relationship building for any child you work with. The third strategy that I want you to focus on early on, remember, it's all responsive now, where it's all about relationship building. And that is to take on the role of a sportscaster. We call this linguistically mapping, in which you're giving the play by play of what the child's doing and what the child's interested in and describing it. Do it with a calm enthusiasm. You don't have to be over the top. It's funny how I've realized over the years you can use so much less energy by saying things different ways. So I'm going to give you an example. So if something is awesome, you can just be like, awesome. And you just say the word awesome and stretch it out like that. And it's no extra energy on your side. It's not going to flip the child out, but it's going to add interest. It's going to make you a bit more fun. So there's something known as parent tease, and this is a strategy that you can use while you're linguistically mapping, in which you're speaking with slower, more exaggerated speech. You're really kind of elongating the vowels out. So, for instance, if the child is drawing, you can write, like if they're drawing a circle, you go, and then stop. So it's like you're not over the top enthusiasm, scaring the child away, but at the same time, you're not saying, I'm drawing a circle. You're really slowing that speech out, exaggerating. It's adding interest to the activity. Okay. It's not about expending more energy. It's not about being over the top. It's kind of just about stretching things out a little bit. Okay, and making them a little bit more exaggerated. The fourth strategy we're going to talk about is expanding on what the child is saying. Now, when many people talk about expansion, they talk about adding a word or two. That's not how I talk about expansion. I really believe, and the research supports, that you should add a clause. So make it into a complex sentence, because language is a container of thought, and complex language is complex thinking. When you're adding those clauses, what you're promoting is executive function in the form of logical thinking, and the child is going to have a better ability to organize their thoughts and to make causal connections. So when you're saying those first and then and next, you're taking those temporal, those time related ideas, and you're putting their ideas into order. When you're saying causal things like because, you're connecting two ideas and showing the cause effect relationship. That's really powerful stuff. Whenever a child says anything, I always add a clause to it. And that's what I encourage you to do. Always think about adding a clause to whatever their ideas are. You really are going to light that brain up like a light bulb when you start thinking in that manner instead of thinking of, I'm going to add a word or two to what they're saying. It's so much more rich for you to do that. Now, strategy number 5, I think, is the most important strategy of all. And that's because many of the children we work with, because they have a communication deficit, they're constantly being redirected. Sometimes you can just go into a classroom of children with special needs, and what a child typically needs in a positive behavior intervention support environment is 80% positive interactions. I would not be surprised if you just are a fly on the wall and you take data, that you would find 80% of the interactions to be redirections. What I will encourage you to do, this is very important, is to just give so much positive, objective encouragement as possible. So even if the child is not doing anything, it's like, I like how you're paying attention. You pay such great attention. Thank you for that. So I want you to lay on like a 7-layer wedding cake. The frosting, it's not praise, it's not good job, it's objective encouragement, where you find specific behaviors and you point them out. So you might be saying, oh my goodness, I love how you share your toys and you let me take a motorcycle too. Thank you so much for being such an awesome sharer. You're just going to lay it on like frosting. All of the great objective things that they are doing. So just tell them everything. Wow, I love the way that you lined up all these cars. Oh my goodness, you lined them up so neatly. It looks like they're for sale. Wow. So you're just laying that objective encouragement on. The more you can give them, the better. And you want to fill that bucket with positive experiences. I think many of our kids are in the negative because they're constantly being redirected, and kind of course correct there. What you're going to want to do is to fill it with positive, objective feedback. Give as many high fives, fist pumps as you can, thumbs up as you can. These kids really need it, and you're only going to know how much they need it if you kind of take a researcher perspective and you just observe one day and you just take your tally marks and you see the interactions these children have throughout the day with others, and you're gonna kind of redirect it again. It's like, "No, David. No, David. No, David." It's like that series book. I mean, really what it's like. So they're kind of many of them are really in a hole. So in order to get them out of that hole, I want you to liberally apply the frosting to that 7-layer cake, and that frosting is not praise, it's objective encouragement. Those are the 5 very powerful, empirically based strategies I want you to focus on, and I want you to think about, "This is something I'm gonna do with every kid that I meet on the very first day of therapy." And maybe this is something I'm going to do on the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth day of therapy. Now, I'm not naive. I know that if you don't work in the schools, you need to show gains. And oftentimes, insurance companies want to see gains within a month. I get that. The good news is, as far as that's concerned, is that you are going to have, I believe, a better language sample. If you're doing language sample analysis from day one to the third session or the fourth session in which you invested in relationship building, you are going to see, I think, much richer language samples because the children are going to show you more diverse vocabulary. They're going to be using more diverse syntax. They're going to be talking much more freely and much more longer utterances because they feel comfortable with you. I think it's going to pay off. You're probably going to see that increase in the MLU, the mean length of utterance. You're probably going to see that input increase in the type token ratio, the percentage of different words that they use, because they are going to feel safe and secure with you. And therefore, you're going to see them perform at a higher level because of that. So, those are the 5 strategies I want you to think about and think about focusing on for 2025. And that said, please roll up your sleeves and do what you do best, which is to make the world a better place, one child at a time. You will always be first.